Hello, hello. Welcome to Imagine Easter. I'm Jack Taylor, and this is part 3. So far, we've talked about Adam, we've talked about Noah, and now we're talking about Abraham on our march toward Easter because Abraham takes us one more step. Abraham is pulled out of the muddle of spirituality gone wild in his community. He is called by God to reach past all he knows and to settle in a new land. Now, he's far from perfect. He engages in great acts of faith, yes, but he passes his wife off as his sister out of fear. He has a relationship with his wife's servant and has a son named Ishmael, and Ishmael is going to become the father of all the Arabian peoples. Jesus, in the form of a messenger from God, arrives with two angels and promises that Sarah is going to have a son. And even though Sarah laughs, Jesus asks, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" A question we still need to ask ourselves. When Abraham is told about the judgment God has determined to rain down on the perverse towns of Sodom and Gomorrah, he pleads for mercy. "If there are 10 righteous people, won't you spare them?" he asks. But not even 10 can be found. And the men of the town storm Lot's home to ravage the angelic men, only to be struck with blindness, even as Lot offers his 2 virgin daughters to satisfy the lusts of the townspeople. How far have we come? We read that when Lot hesitated, the 2 angels grabbed his hand plus the hands of his wife and 2 daughters and dragged them from the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. Burning sulfur consumes the cities. Lot's wife becomes a pillar of salt for looking back, and the girls end up seducing their father and producing 2 lines of people who will haunt Abraham's descendants for years to come. The Lord was merciful to them. In the midst of judgment, the mercy of God is able to save his own. The unwilling, the unwitting, he still has mercy. The thread of the Easter story continues. A righteous one pleads for mercy over the perishing, and a few are pulled from the mire, from the flames, and they're saved. Now, Abraham is no saint. He lies again about his wife being a sister to another man whom he is also afraid of. God shows that man a vision and saves Sarah from being violated. Well, Isaac is finally born and Ishmael is sent away into the desert. When Isaac reaches about 13, God calls Abraham to sacrifice his only son, Isaac. Abraham takes him up to Mount Moriah and he builds an altar. "Where is the lamb?" Isaac asks. "The Lord will provide the lamb," Abraham says as he binds his son. He lays him on the altar and raises his knife, believing that the God who promises life through this son will be able to raise him back to life if he dies. "Abraham, Abraham," Jesus himself calls out as the knife is raised. "Now I know that you fear God because you haven't withheld your only son." And there's a ram, a substitute offering, caught in a thicket. Out of nowhere, God provides a lamb, and Abraham calls the place, "The Lord will provide." This is the exact place where the first part of the Easter story will take place, and there will be no one to stop the death stroke when it happens. The Lamb of God will provide himself as a substitute for the one bound with the death sentence on his head. He will provide himself as the substitute for all of those who embrace the faith of Abraham, the belief that God is able to raise up the one who dies. The picture of the sacrifice is gut-wrenching, soul-churning, mind-numbing. Somewhere in the drama of faith, this one man stands out and keeps us marching toward Easter. From him will descend a people who will one day yield the very Lamb of God who will take away the sins of the world. Easter is no tragic accident of history. Its truths have been played out clearly for all to see. And the one watching and calling out, "Abraham, Abraham," This one sees through the curtain of eternity to the very place where he will one day become the slain lamb. Join me tomorrow for one more life in the march toward Easter.